What is good, everybody, and welcome to Between Frets, a space where female musicians meet and discuss all things music. Sean here, and this is the second week of the virtual learning that I had to go through as a parent. The first week was stressful, trying to get used to the kinks and everything, but the second week is kind of calm because they had their spring break, so we only going to deal with like these 3 days. And so as a parent, so here's my little tip. If you have like kids and they don't want to be cramping them, let them have a break and then they can come right back to it. That way we won't be stressing out and everything. Like, just give them a little break. It's like, okay, just like give them a break. And also as parents, make sure you get a break too, because if you don't get no breaks doing all this, we're going to go insane and we're going to go cuckoo, and that's not good. So that's my little quick tip for y'all. Speaking of which, we've been now doing some things for the podcast. We're now doing some video podcasting. We just released episode with Jenny and her bandmates and friends from Pebble to Pearl, and they started talking about life in quarantine, bookings after the quarantine, and everything like that. And the video came out very, very good. So we was just like, you want to do something different, and just while we still quarantine, we can like come up with some new things on our IG and Facebook. And if you have any suggestions, any content that you want to add, have any ideas for us, feel free to shout us out, talk to us, holler at us, and we're sure we can probably get some of the suggestions through and stuff like that. We got the audio for the podcast here on our platforms, our podcast platforms. But if you want to watch the video portion of the podcast, make sure you follow us and subscribe to our channel. It's under Fret Sisters, and you'll get to see that. So we're going to be doing a couple more of those things just to work out the kinks and everything. So this is going to be fun. And also, so if you want to support us, make sure you go to our merch store, fretsisters.storynv.com, shirts and everything like that. And yeah, support us. We got t-shirts, hoodies, socks, bags, anything, We got some essentials, a couple clothes, you be on home, probably on PJs, and be very comfortable. So anywho, I'm gonna go and refresh my cup of coffee and set up this meeting for my daughter, her kids. And when we come back, I will be talking to jazz violinist Julia Philippens. So stay tuned. Want to start a podcast but don't have equipment nor money? Well, try out Anchor. Anchor is a free app that gives you everything you need in one place, which you can use right from your phone or computer. They distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. Oh, and didn't I tell you that it is completely free? That is the magic word, free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we are back. Our guest today is a jazz violinist who has evolved as a genre-surpassing musician. Her improvising on jazz music or contemporary classic music became a second nature to her since she developed herself after her classical studies. So everyone, please welcome Julia Philippens. Hello, Julia. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thank you.
On behalf of the Fret Sisters, I'd like to thank you for joining in and with us today. And since everybody is stuck in quarantine.
Yeah. In Holland, we can still go outside. We can still go for a walk. But it's amazing what's happening right now, right?
Yes,
around
like
the world.
Yeah, everybody had to stay in your home, stay safe, but some of us been going outside in the park. It's a beautiful day out. Just enjoying the spring weather. But sometimes people when they say stay in the house, stay in the house.
Yeah, of course. Well, the thing is, here we call it an intelligent lockdown, and we can go outside, but we have to keep this, this distance of 1.5 meter. But in the end, what is, apart from all the drama, what's going on, it's also like we're fighting with the whole world's one enemy, the same enemy. We're all one, fighting this enemy. And this is also something that's a bigger thing than just an illness, It's an awareness that we're all, human, and we're all vulnerable in the same ways, like physically, but also mentally. And it gives me so much inspiration, also as a musician, I must say. Which sounds a bit weird, I understand. I'm just
that's
honest.
A good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. A lot of musicians like to write new music while they're stuck in the house. They can't tour, they can't perform anything, but they can do virtual concerts in their social medias. They're recording their music in their own home studios. So that's a great thing to give us a chance to just keep still and just focus on our craft as musicians. If you like to practice your techniques on your guitar or violin, or just keep up the beat with your fingers. Make sure all the dexterity going on so you won't lose your touch.
Yeah, of course. It's a top sport. If you're not practicing at all, you're really losing fast the muscles. You know what I mean? It's really top sport. So you have to stay in shape, also with your instrument. But I also took this time because all the concerts that I had, they're all wiped away from my agenda. How do you say this in English? I don't know, but everything is not going on. I was going to Japan. We had so many plans with my band, and that's a way. But also, this is a way for me to take a step back and to look back at the past 2 years and really to take, a breath, to really breathe and think, shit, that's a lot. And what do I think? Where am I going? Where do I come from? And now I can't wait, of course, to share again the stage with my friends and also to have contact with people, the public. My God, I miss everybody so much. Oh, my cats, I'm hugging my cats like crazy, but...
So, when did you first fall in love with the violin, or did you just play any instruments before that, and then it's just I just want to play the violin, I'm going to play it forever?
Yeah. No, I was 4 years old. My mother is a pianist, and I always, so I was always surrounded by music. And when I was 4, I started, she gave me a violin. And I also played a bit of piano, but, of course, I didn't want to do the piano. My mother did the piano, so I wanted to do something else. And so I don't know if I chose the violin really consciously, but let's say my mother gave me a violin, and I never questioned it until I was older. But I never questioned the instrument. I loved to make music. I fell in love with the music more than my instrument. And then, to fast forward a bit, so I did this classical, upbringing. So I went to the music school, then I went to the conservatory. We took it very seriously, everything. And I started giving concert when I was 10. It was really my life apart from school, and my friends was playing the violin. Classical, of course, because all you learn when you start playing the violin, everything you play is classical music. They never give you music of Michael Jackson. It's just so it's Bach and Beethoven. It's everything. And but in my free time, I was listening to Michael Jackson. I was listening to Queen. I was listening to Prince. That was that live where I listened to my favorite music in front of the mirror with my hairbrush, pretending to be a singer, was a whole different life than me and the violin. That was not a world that was combined. You understand what I mean? So
yes.
So the music I played on the violin was a different world. That was really my nerdy violin classical music world. And when I was 15, I got my first jazz CD from my father, and then I really fell in love with this music. It was not that I had, Michael Jackson, he was more my idol, or Prince. But when I heard jazz music, I fell in love with the music, like with the rhythm, and Ella Fitzgerald. But I fell in love with Gershwin, with the composer, with the music. And then I thought, my God, I'm playing the wrong instrument. I want to play jazz. So I need a saxophone, or I need to be a singer. But on the violin, you cannot really play jazz. And it took me like 10 years before I realized you can play jazz on any instrument. It doesn't matter. It's about improvisation. It's about a certain vocabulary. And you don't hear a lot of violin in jazz, but of course you can play jazz on the violin. And then from that moment on, when I realized that, I went also to the conservatory for jazz violin. I had actually a teacher who was Fernand Povel. He's a saxophone player. He's an amazing saxophone player. I think George Coleman said something. Now, doesn't matter. He's like amazing. Like people from all over the world come to him. He knows everything about bebop. And I was at the conservatory studying jazz music. And then I thought, okay, now I combine the two worlds where I listen to my favorite music and I play my favorite music. And that was really, I think, the happiest time of until then. That I was biking, because in Holland we all go on the bike. I was biking to the conservatory, to my university, let's say, and I was so happy. I felt so blessed. Oh my God, I'm doing what I love, and I am so ambitious. I want to nail this. I want to know everything about jazz. And I never felt that with classical music. I loved the music, but I never felt this blind ambition. So I thought I was lazy or something. But I'm not. I still don't know the answer why I felt this with jazz. This amazingly big ambition, which made me not sleep, because there was no time. I had for myself, I didn't give myself time. I wanted to practice and learn. And
so, like, when you start listening to jazz and you just pick up the violin and start improvising over a song in jazz, you felt like you free?
Not yet. I felt unfree. When I started improvising on jazz, I couldn't do it. I was able to. I have good ears, so when I hear like a chord, I know what to play. But there was we say in Holland, there was a glass ceiling. I couldn't go a step further. So that's why I didn't feel free, and that's why I wanted to learn so badly. I wanted to learn what is a chord, what is a turnaround, all these things that in jazz you need to learn before you are free. That's what I told my student. One time I had a student, like a violin student, and she was like this free spirit, and she was playing the violin in front of me, and she was moving so much. And you have to understand, I'm always moving on stage, like I'm a freak on stage. I'm moving so much. So she was moving, and I told her to stand still, and she said, no, I want to be free. And I told her, but you're not free, because you cannot stand still. First stand still. And then if you decide to move. But you are not free. And that's how I felt in jazz also. I was not free because I couldn't stand still. You know what I mean? I couldn't. There was too much that I didn't know yet to let go. So first I needed to learn a lot, to transcribe all the solos that I liked, from Coltrane to Charlie Parker to Keith Jarrett to, I transcribed every single thing I liked. I told you before, I was a freak until 6 o'clock in the morning, transcribing solos and be really precise in, do they play an 8 note or a 16? What is this rhythm? What do they think? What is it? What do I like so much about this solo. Why do I like it? Like analyzing. And it took me years to finally feel, okay, now I allow myself to let go this student mindset, and I'm gonna take myself serious. Now I can talk. Now I can say my own words. Now I can, and that was actually a conscious step that I felt. Now I can speak, and that came not only together. That was also because I learned jazz at the conservatory, but at the same time I was still surrounded by classical music, because I love classical music. One of my favorite composers is Brahms, and this is maybe also a bit of my nature. So I was studying jazz, but then in my free time, I was actually again listening to classical music, like the other way around. So now I was studying jazz and I was listening in my free time to classical instead of studying classical and listening in my free time to jazz. So it was switched. And then I thought, shit, why are these two worlds? Why can't I? Why is it that I want to improvise, but before I improvise, I'm playing this tune like all these jazz standards, like Autumn Leaves, all these amazing jazz standards. They're Autumn Leaves, or I don't know, So What, like all these jazz standards. They have kind of easy melodies in the beginning, and it's all about improvisation. It's not that much about the melody. But I thought, why is this melody, why can't I make it super expressive, Why can't it be a melody of Brahms? And then we started improvising. I mean, I missed complex melodies. I missed certain, how do you say that? Nuances in tone, like in the color of the tone that you use, because everything had to be loud. When I was at a jam session with my violin, I had to play loud because I had to, there was a drummer behind me, and if I wanted to be heard, I had to play really loud. So I missed from my classical background, I missed playing super soft, like this adagio of Bach, and that everybody had to sit, like the audience had to sit in, on the tip of their chair to hear me. And I missed that in jazz. And it frustrated me also that nobody took the melody seriously and went straight to the improvisation and play like as many notes as possible at the conservatory, So I thought, why don't we combine forces? Why don't we bring these two worlds together? I was having lunch with my friends of the jazz department, and my friends of the classical department were like almost in a different area at the conservatory having lunch. And I thought, whoa, those people can learn so much from each other, and they were afraid of each other, but they also envied each other. It was like not really nice communication. And that's why when I started actually my band, it started actually with friends of the conservatory studying in different departments, combining forces, making a band. And now we are, we are known in Holland. We are the band in residence of a very well-watched TV show about music. And we are, we have a new genre, because it's not jazz, it's not classical, it's nothing. There's no name. It's Fuse. It's my band, and that's nice. I love it. No, I love it because record companies before, when I started my band, we worked our asses off. We needed a website, so we gave we needed money, so we gave a lot of concerts and we did for free. We did so much. We really worked so hard, and then we got picked up by this TV show, and then we wanted to make a record, with a record label. So we went to the record labels, and they told us, okay, are you jazz or are you classical? We need to know. Otherwise, we cannot put you in a box, and you need to be in a box if you want to sell CDs. And I told them, but you cannot put us in a box. They said, well, then we cannot help you. We cannot, we cannot make this album. And I was so frustrated. I thought, shit, I don't know what I am. If I'm jazz or classical, it just doesn't exist yet, maybe. Or, yeah, it's not contemporary classical. I don't have a name. And last year, we won actually a Dutch Grammy with an album we made in our own. You know, we made 2 albums in our, how do you say, without a company. So we made it ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we actually got a Dutch Grammy for it. And I was so happy that, you know, the audience actually liked the music without knowing if it was jazz or classical. The audience is much smarter than that. You know, you don't have to give them, don't underestimate people, you know. They are much freer than we think.
Well, speaking of your 2 albums, your first with your band Fuse, with the debut album Studio, and then you got the Studio 2. Like, what is the behind story between those 2 projects?
Well, it was just we were okay. Let's see. We became the band in resident of this TV show, and actually this is a kickstart of Fuse. Then we started building an audience because we were on television every 2 weeks. But every 2 weeks also we had to come up with a new piece, which we, you know, it could be a piano, a piece of, let's say, Frank Zappa. Let's say Frank Zappa. He made this Gitna's Arf. We liked it. We want to show it on TV, but it has to be arranged. Then we want to practice it, and we want to learn by heart. And then it has to be on television, but it can only last 4 minutes. And apart from that, we had to play also an opening in the show and an extra song. So we had 3 things every 2 weeks to prepare. Like very short-term thinking, you know, which is amazing. But at one moment we thought, okay, we are busy. But this music that we played on TV, we would take it on tour. So we would actually give concerts, and then these pieces that we played, premiered actually on live TV, would go with us on tour. All these little pieces. And then it started to make sense. Then it became really like our I don't know, then it grew because of the audience, and we learned to know the pieces much better. So then it became really our songs, let's say. It became ours, and we developed it. And there were like 12 songs that really stick to us, and we decided to record it, to actually, you know, to put it down on a document, to make a document of it. And that's why we recorded a CD, to make a document of the pieces that we felt was our identity. It became, the music we made became our identity. And then I find it so difficult to explain it, but you have to understand this band consists of a string quartet and bass and drums. We like to say it's, so this is the, and in Holland, there's not really music written for this combination of instruments. There's not so much music written for us for this. So we had to come up with music that we liked, and to arrange it and to make it our own. And some music works, and some music doesn't work. So along the way, we found our sound, and we found, okay, this works. Hey, minimal music actually works with us. Oh, okay. Ravel, his toccata from the Tombeau de Couperin, actually, that is a piano piece, but it works quite well for strings and percussion. Oh, nice. Oh, we like a lot the Faya, Spanish influenced music. That's also something that our percussionist, you know, like, because he can use his castañetes, you know. And along the way, we found an identity through the music we liked. And and the second CD, Studio 2, is actually a follow-up of Studio 1. I think we matured a bit more. It's a more, how do you say, more peaceful document, let's say. We're sunken in a bit. It's sunken in. Our identity is a bit sunken in. And I hope the third record, which we're gonna record very soon, is like a combination of both, like boldness, but also like, that we accept our identity, but we're still searching to be better and to grow. And this search can be on the third CD, maybe. Yeah. Oh, I have so much to say. I say so many words. I'm talking so much because I'm here all the time talking to my cats and composing. So you get it's, oh my God, so much to say.
Do you have any solo projects in the works, like while quarantine being creative? Do you have anything like solo wise?
Being in quarantine is actually for me a time where I compose. I compose, but I never really need time to compose. And the last 2 years, if not the last 6 years, were amazingly busy. So actually, the past 2 weeks I completed a composition, which is very. I compose very intuitive, with intuition. So you hear in this composition, I started it already before the Corona crisis, but it's actually a composition where first everything is fine, and then suddenly you hear the crisis in the music, and then you hear from the crisis, which is a lot of noise, you hear me isolated, alone, playing just me alone, the violin. And then you hear me in the end also going outside again and looking around what happens, you know. And this song helped me, this composition actually helps me also to express myself. And I sent it to my two colleagues of Fuse, and they completely got it. You know, they got it. I didn't have to tell them anything. They knew the story. You know, it was so funny. I didn't have to use words, just the music. And that makes me feel really good. So that's one of the things I'm doing, being in quarantine. When we talk about solo projects, what I want to do apart from Fuse, my band, I want to put jazz violin in a different light a bit. I want to make it much more approachable for people that, like little children that pick up the violin. You know, I want young children that are playing the violin and listening to their favorite music, that those two worlds come together and that they can actually play their favorite music on their violin. And if that's Bach, that's convenient. But if it's like, I don't know, the music now, One Direction, I don't know, when it's Rihanna, I want them to be able to play on the violin, you know, this song of Rihanna, or the bass line, or the guitar lick, or you know, or I don't know. I want them to feel they're free on their instrument to play their favorite music and to express themselves and to find their own voice instead of just the classical music or the notes that are put in front of them to know how to learn the violin, you know, to learn how to play the violin. It's amazing, that's important, but apart from that, I want them to find their own voice already from a young age. And you know what? That gives me so much fulfillment. I give sometimes workshops to little children and I ask them, can you play me your favorite song? You know, they always say no, they cannot. They didn't make this connection yet in their head that they can actually play a song, they can sing to play it on the violin. They didn't make this connection, but they're so fast. Like I gave a workshop last summer. Next day, I get so many messages from these children telling me I can play my favorite song on my violin. You know, it takes them 1 day to actually do it. And, you know, so I find it important, and I think what I need to do is be a bit an example. Maybe that's what I can do. So I want a jazz violin concerto. So I want somebody, an amazing composer, Thomas Beyer. He is an amazing composer and pianist. He's gonna write a jazz violin concerto, which I'm gonna perform with orchestra, like in 2 years. It takes a little time, but that's my big project. You know, to show to play violin, jazz violin, to improvise, but to also play soft, also play with orchestra, also play extremely challenging violin concerto-like passages, but also improvise and have my own voice on stage, my own voice, not in a box, not in jazz vocabulary, only if I want to. You know, no boundaries, just, you know, no boundaries.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Well, that was actually a great advice. When you're saying that if you have like the kids and you being a sample for the kids and like have them have their own voice when they pick up the violin, that is really a great advice to share with us.
Yeah,
with that
well,
one.
it makes them. You see their, you see their confidence grow the minutes, you know, they can play their favorite song and show you their what's in their mind, actually, which notes are in their mind. Yeah.
Oh, great. So can you tell our listeners where can they follow you on social media?
I'm not at all a social media person. I love it. I love to check other people. So my social media. So Instagram, just my name, Julia Philippens. And on Facebook, I have there is this kind of artist page, but I'm not using it. So I'm just using let's say a personal Facebook, but you know, it's open for everybody. Everybody can watch what I'm doing on Facebook. So it's again my name, Julia Philippens. But if you really want to see stuff like stuff, you should maybe go to my website, which is juliaphilippens.com. or the website of my band, my biggest band at the moment, which is fusemusic.nl, from NL, Netherlands. And there you will find, there's also YouTube, we also have a YouTube channel with a lot of videos. And if you Google me, there's also, or my website, there are videos that I'm happy to share with you. So that's better to go there. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gents. I would like to thank Julia Philippens for joining in with us today. And you very welcome. And just follow her on our social media. We will definitely put it in our show notes for you to click on the link, check out her music and her band, The Fuse. And I am Shawnee Marshall, and hopefully listening to the next episode of our podcast. And yeah, bye everyone.
Hey Riff Girl, what you got? If you want to learn more about this lick, hit us up on Facebook or Instagram at Fret Sisters, or email us at fretsistersmusic@gmail.com. Peace and love.